Welcome everybody to the Circle of Trust, aka Trust DeFi. My name is Mystic Crypto, and I'm your host for today. It's great to be here with everybody. Thank you for stopping by. So for anybody for everybody here, just to double check with you all about Trust DeFi, this is a place where we hang out and we learn about interesting new crypto projects and potentially introduce some fantastic projects to our private investors. So thank you guys for taking the time to come by and join us for this AMA, yet another AMA at Circle of Trust, Trust DeFi. And so this particular project is called Vitreus, and we are here with the full team. They're all with us, and they're going to be telling us a little bit about the project. So I'm really looking forward to learn some more about it. I'd like to remind everybody that AMAs are completely for research purposes only, and they do not constitute investment advice. So always make sure to make your own decisions when it comes to investing. I'm not a financial advisor, and nobody else is in here either, as I understand. So without further ado, why don't we dive right in? Really happy to be joined here by the team and excited to find out some more about what's going on and what they've been working on and what's coming up for the future. So without further ado, let's get into it. Thank you guys for coming by, Chad and the rest of the team.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely, guys. Well, why don't we start off here with a little bit of an introduction from you guys. You can tell us a little bit about who you are and what's your background and what's brought you to this stage so far, building this project here.
Sure. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Chad Justice. My background is actually in financial advice. I'm a licensed wealth manager. I own a boutique firm out of the state of Florida in the U.S. I founded this firm 18 years ago, and I've been heavily ingrained in the growth aspects of building this firm out and expanding the firm across the state of Florida. I got into crypto about 3.5 years ago and entered the crypto space just like many of you all did through Bitcoin, and it piqued my interest in the various areas of the altcoin space and different utilitarian capabilities of blockchain and crypto, and caused me to evaluate pursuing the build out of a pretty ambitious project here in Vitreus to serve a need within my wealth management firm. So I'm excited to share quite a bit of the detail surrounding Vitreus today with you all. Moth?
Yeah, Moth, Ken here, community member and on the Genesis DAO Council for Vitreus, and been here since the beginning of all this and the evolution. Happy to discuss community matters, the DAO, the governance, and how things are coming together. So pretty exciting time over at Vitreus.
Tim?
Afternoon, everyone. Tim Benedict. I'm out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Chief Technology Officer. Been a part of the Vitreus ecosystem from the beginning. I have responsibility for building out the ComplyQ partnership, which we'll talk about a little later today, bringing some real-world utility and bringing Web3 technologies to companies for the utilization. So happy to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you, Tim. Taylor?
Okay. All right. Taylor, are you there?
I think Taylor's on mute. He may pop up here in a second, and we'll get a brief introduction. Taylor is really important to the design elements of the overall ecosystem. He oversees all of our product design, from individual product and features all the way out to the entire landscape of the Vitreus ecosystem. He's a very important element to making sure that everything is all working fluidly with each other, and also working with our professional dev team and NOIs as well. So he's going to probably plug in a little bit more in the technical aspects if we get into that down the road.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for the introductions. Really a pleasure to meet you and to learn a little bit more about your backgrounds and stuff. Funny to think that you are in fact a financial advisor. So that's I guess I was wrong with my initial statement at the start.
There's just one here, but just one.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. And it sounds like you have quite a, widespread team, different people coming together and with different backgrounds. And sounds like you put some effort into building a proper team. So on saying that, where did you guys actually come together and meet each other to start building this? How did you all meet each other here?
I've got myself and another gentleman by the name of Brent, who is the co-founder of Vitreus. We came together. We've been working together in our wealth management space for the last 7 or 8 years. So we've known each other outside of this business and other businesses as well. And we identified a major burden within our wealth management firm centered around the compliance operations, and that burden that was becoming pretty heavy on our space over in the traditional finance arena. So this project originally came together back in December of 2022, and we've been building out the team surrounding all of our various needs. Brenton had a number of the current team members that were in his circle. I brought in a number of team members from my circle. And we've been slowly building this out over the last 14, 15 months or so into what it is today. The project has changed considerably since we started, and it's gotten much bigger. But it originally started with a single use case in developing operational automations around compliance. My business in the wealth management space requires a lot of compliance around the heavy regulatory burdens of operating our business. And a lot of it is manual, and it requires a lot of cost and personnel to adhere to those regulatory requirements. And so we look to blockchain and decentralized storage and AI to try to solve a lot of those challenges within the business. And as we began to build that out, we realized we were building a platform that was capable of so much more than just a single use case. We were building a blockchain ecosystem, or what we refer to as an ecosystem of ecosystems. And all of this is built on the Substrate framework, similar to Polkadot or Cosmos. It's a layer 0. So foundationally, there's a layer 0 relay chain that serves as the shared security model. It serves as the interoperable layer between all the various parachains, very similar to Polkadot. And so there's a very much a foundational element involved in that layer 0 as we begin to scale out this and different layers on top of that. So it has become a much more diversified approach to blockchain as a platform service, essentially. And we're really excited with the direction that this is headed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm excited to dive in and find out some more. So blockchain as a platform service, guys, for everybody that's in here, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you are not sure, but yeah, as Chad has said here, so layer 0 is like sort of the foundation of a blockchain, as I understand it, right? So isn't that dealing with, say, the hardware and the infrastructure of the blockchain?
Yeah, currently we've got our validation infrastructure is DePIN, Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. And it's a really unique feature of our ecosystem in the fact it's purely decentralized. We've spec'd out and we've manufactured these essentially mini computers that we've sold to consumers around the world. And we've gone through that entire process. We've shipped them out. We're in a lot of countries around the world. We're covering the majority of the states in the US. And all of these consumers are holding these nodes, or what we call V nodes, in their homes and office places. And those are all small utility devices, hardware devices that are talking to each other that constitute the validation network. And we've created a custom operating system that allows for a plug and play. Essentially, we ship these out in boxes. The consumer receives them, opens them up, plugs them into their internet connection and power, and ties it in with their app, and they're up and running as a validator. And so we've gone through this extensive process in designing that ease of implementation capability and allowed for someone who's not technical to be able to get involved with the validation activities. Really, really cool, unique aspect of Vitreus.
Yeah, that is super interesting, actually. So people have actually purchased these little mini computers. You've shipped them out to everybody, and then that's going to form the foundation of the actual blockchain, where people are going to be able to process transactions and basically act as nodes for the blockchain, right? So, why have you decided to take that route rather than something more traditional that we see, like a proof of stake, or like staking to validate transactions and whatever? This sounds like instead it's like a hardware infrastructure, like other blockchains didn't send out these mini computers to all these different people, right? So what is this going to allow you to do differently that the other blockchains are not able to do?
It all ties in with our pursuit of pure decentralization. And as we began looking at normal networks, these node networks, many of them are majority housed in virtual environments or data centers. And to an extent, that still is a centralized type structure, with the ability to be influenced by an action of some individual or company or so on and so forth that can control the lights on, lights off switch for the entire network, essentially. And so by approaching the network infrastructure in this way, we route around any individual being able to single-handedly control the network. So it is just this extra push, this extra step towards pure decentralization, which at our foundation, at our ethos, that is what we're pursuing here, is pure decentralization. And much of it needs to be attacked across the network also to be able to make that claim, we believe.
Yep, absolutely. That would make sense to me. Cool. Well, why don't we dive in a little bit more about how this the Vitreus blockchain actually works, and there's sort of governance and a couple different tokens, I believe, involved here. So we definitely have more to look into and how it all is going to fit together. Maybe why don't we start off with Vitreus is quite an interesting name. Why did you guys decide to call it this in particular? Is there a reason for that?
It's a very common question we get, and we went, just like any startup business or company or project, you go through this process of evaluating what all different possibilities are around a name. And at the end of the day, we felt like our name needed to have meaning and a deeper element to the choice behind why we chose Vitreus. And the meaning, if you look it up, means glassy, translucent, transparent, and really ties into the aspect that we're approaching this decentralized, fully transparent type environment and community as we pursue the build out of the project. So we felt that and it's just a cool name. So that ties really well with what our foundational values are, as well as a really nice marketable name as well.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting name, and I think it's a pretty cool name. Sounds very blockchain-y, pretty techy, something that people could think sounds pretty cool, I think. So, all right, awesome. So let's dive into it. So something that I've read here on the website, it says that it's the Vitreus chain hits Genesis as a decentralized network spread across 170 nodes in 15 plus countries. So when we're speaking in terms of nodes in 15 plus countries, is that the mini computers that you guys are sending out, and there's 170 of them available at the moment? Is there going to be more, or what? How? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's 172 actually that have been sold. I think we're around 150 that are online at any given point. And that constitute a very, very adequate capacity for us to execute the volume that we currently have. At some point, we're going to need to take a look at expanding that. It'll be all open source. So all of the software and runtime code tied to the validation activities is going to be available in an open source repository. So if you're able to meet the minimum token requirement, which is 1 million VTRS, then you're going to be able to build out a node that will allow you to participate in the validation activities. That'll happen sometime in the future. For now, we have adequate node capability and capacity in place.
Okay, gotcha. When you say build out a node, does that mean what if they have 1 million tokens, they're going to be able to get a node sent to them? Or when you say build out, does that mean more like they can then hook onto the current infrastructure and make their own node on the cloud or something like that?
Any of that. So someone who's not technical will have these V nodes prepackaged, pre-manufactured that people will be able to purchase. Or someone who is more technical and has adequate hardware with the right specifications will be able to create and develop their own node using the runtime code.
All right, gotcha. So they could develop their own node using their own resources and computer if they wanted to. Very cool. Right. Okay, so there's going to be 2 tokens here involved. There's the VTRS, looks like it's going to be the core token, the main token. I suppose that would be used for processing transactions and paying gas fees and anything like that. And then there's VNRG, which is a different token as well. Actually, no, this one, it says the VNRG acts as the fuel to power the network from transactions. So why don't you break it down for us and tell us the difference between these 2 different tokens that are going to be available?
Yeah, it's a very, very cool dual asset type structure that is very tightly tied together. VTRS is our native utility commodity token. It is used in a number of different utility features. One being it's used to stake as a proof of stake on the nodes. And by staking, you're able to generate an APR of rewards that are paid out in the form of VNRG. We call it VNRG. And that's what you receive your rewards in. And that's also what is used as the gas mechanism to pay transactional charges across the network.
Okay, understood. So VTRS will be staked, and then rewards are paid out from the staking in the VNRG. And then, yeah, you said the VNRG is going to be used for processing the transactions, essentially, or paying for those sort of the fees and the gas fees and things like that, right? Yep.
Yes.
And then there's also governance involved. So is the governance attached to one of these tokens? I suppose is it the VTRS?
Yeah, VTRS carries also as a secondary utility. It's a governance token. So it'll be used in various aspects across securing proposals and voting activities within our governance platform. We call that governance platform vGovern. And that's just the user interface to where proposals can be completed. Endorsements for those proposals can be made. Voting activities can be had there. Nominations for council members and voting on council members, all of those types of governance related activities on chain are conducted on our vGovern platform.
Understood. And it looks like that with the VTRS token, you're trying to make it highly distributed or decentralized across, many different holders. It says that no single holder will own more than 1% of the supply. And it looks like we have a bit of a breakdown of the supply over here as well. So let's have a look at this, if it can see it here on my screen. So this is the different sales, seed round, pre-sale, LPs, treasury, and so on and so forth. So you're looking to be launching the VTRS token at about these market caps here, right? So about 33%, or a third of it will be circulating on the launch, right?
Correct.
Understood.
Yeah,
now, as far as go ahead.
You can see how we've broken this down into various categories. That seed round, that pre-sale, and that mainnet, those are already allocated. That was part of our NFT sales that we've been executing on for the past 14 months or so. And as we've gone throughout this build, that discount to listing price has gotten smaller and smaller. Essentially, the price has gone up as we've proceeded throughout the build process. And each one of those carried an NFT. So if you've already gotten into this project, you own an NFT that was used for enhanced entitlements, particularly centered around enhancing voting capabilities and an enhancement around reward programs. And then it served as a placeholder for reserved VTRS2 as soon as claiming opened up. So everybody that bought in those 3 rounds up to this point, we sold out early about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And anyone who has already bought an NFT has now moved into the claiming process and has gone and claimed their tokens into their wallet, their VTRS.
Gotcha. So those 3 rounds that you're talking about are these 3 that we see here, right? The seed round, pre-sale, and mainnet sale. Those are all completed at this stage.
Correct. Yep.
Right. And they had to purchase an NFT first, and then that would allow them to then, what does that NFT include the tokens as well, or did they then purchase the tokens additionally?
Yeah, the NFT gave those 2 entitlement, the voting enhancement and the reward enhancements, and then it served as a placeholder and converted their purchase amount into a certain reservation of VTRS. And so that held that reservation for however long you went throughout with holding the NFT. And just recently, we launched mainnet. April 1st, about 2 months ago, we launched our mainnet. And at that point, anybody with an NFT went and began claiming their tokens off of their NFT. And they still have their NFT. It's essentially empty, if you want to call it that. But now they hold their VTRS in wallet, and many of them already have it staked, and they're generating rewards and going through that normal long-term committed process.
Fantastic. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So everyone has their tokens already, and the mainnet's live, and things are pretty much moving forward. So it's already what? So you already fully launched. People could say trade the coin and do whatever they wish with it now.
Yeah, that is our utility token inside of Vitreus. What we're launching on June 18th is the trader token, and we're launching that
right.
The wrapper. It's a wrapper on Ethereum ERC20. It's called a WVTRS, and that will give capability for anybody holding the native version of VTRS. They can bridge out over to the trader token and trade it normally with USDC.
Understood. Gotcha. But currently, would people be able to trade VTRS on the Vitreus blockchain before that before you bridge it over to Ethereum, essentially?
No, the only swap capabilities that we have at this point on Vitreus is back and forth between VTRS and V Energy. So as you're staking and you're receiving those rewards in V Energy, you can either accumulate and build up and hold that V Energy, or you can swap that over into more VTRS. And we have what we call an energy broker on Vitreus that will allow that swap back and forth. That's the only capability we have on the native side at this point. We'll be building that out, obviously, over time. But the trader token that launches on June 18th is what is going to give the full external trading capabilities of anybody holding native.
Okay, I see. Makes sense. So that'll be really interesting to see to see how that's going to work. And once it's live and people can trade it, fully with paired with USDT or USDC or whichever. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. So people will have to bridge their current tokens over there. How would somebody get involved at this stage? Is that a possibility, or would they basically just have to wait until it's live trading and purchase tokens from there?
Yeah, anybody who wants to get involved who has not already, or anybody that has and wants more, they'll go position USDC in their wallet, USDC ERC20, and prepare for the launch of the trader token on Uniswap. And that'll be June 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they'll be able to swap immediately from USDC into the trader token. They can either hold wrapped VTRS, or they can bridge over into Vitreus and pursue some of the utilitarian aspects of VTRS from there.
All right, gotcha. Cool stuff. June 18th, guys, that's the date. So, keep your eyes on that. I would say if you're interested in the project and you're interested, so far as to the potential of what's available here, definitely go check out their Telegram group, and that's where you'll be able to stay up to date with maybe any updates, or if something gets delayed or something is moved forward, or who knows, whatever happens. That's the place to stay up to date with every news and event that will be coming here. So I'd recommend that if you're interested. And also, guys, besides this AMA itself, there's a lot of information here on this website. There's a lot of documents involved too. Like, I was looking through some of the documents here. If we bring it up, like the manifesto, and this thing is pretty in depth, guys. Like just reading through here, there's a lot of information, a lot of visuals that you can look at that describes what they're doing. And so yeah, it's for anybody that's more interested in maybe a technical side or looking a bit deeper into what their vision is and how everything is working. This is a good thing to look into. So you can find the documents on their website as well, and you can read through all of that if you're interested. So yeah, there's quite a lot going on. It looks like something I've seen here as well is you also have a V app. So this is going to help, as it says here, manage the safekeeping of assets, actively participate in blockchain validation, manage their nodes, and manage staking activities. Right. So do you want to expand at all on this? The app? Absolutely.
This is the core of the interactivity between a holder and the ecosystem. And while we have some web-based platforms and DApps, this is really and truly where someone who's holding VTRS conducts all their daily activities. So the V app, which is available currently on Apple and Google stores, it's available for download. It'll allow you to do 4 things at this point. It'll allow you to hold your digital assets, both your VTRS and your V Energy. It will allow you to manage your V node. So if you're an owner, an operator of a V node, and it's connected to the network, you'll be able to see all the various functions and management capabilities on this function, all the way from staking and unstaking to shutting your node down, to disconnecting, to requesting to validate. Any activity related to operating your vNode can be conducted on that specifically. The vEnergy tab, where you'll show the accumulation of all your vEnergy, we call them G-volts, and then the capability to swap that out. So as you build G-volts, you can then go in and you can swap those G-volts for more VTRS to go compound on your staking position. And then the fourth tab, which it looks like you've got a slightly older version of, oh, there it is. Yeah, that fourth tab over is called VIP. And this is something pretty innovative for Vitreus in the way that we're able to create reward programs for long-term holders. So outside of traditional staking and reward generation through staking, we have another rewards program called VIP. VIP and VIP Preferred. And that is a royalty program that allows a holder to commit and lock their tokens and participate in the success of the partners. So as the ecosystem grows and the ecosystem builds out more parachains and brings builders on, the success of those partners, the holders can participate in. And specifically, it's 3% of the gross revenues of that partner. So let's say, for example, one of our partners is called ComplyQ. It's an AI governance, risk, and compliance platform. ComplyQ comes on, they utilize a parachain specifically for ledger services for ComplyQ. And ComplyQ grows, it begins to generate gross revenue through building out a customer base. The holders who have enrolled in the VIP program can participate in the gross revenues of ComplyQ. That's what we call VIP, Vanguard Incentive Program. And it's just an incentive program to create longer-term committed holders out of our holder base. So a really cool way to enhance the overall return and profitability of the rewards program.
Yeah, definitely.
The rewards program with Vitreus is very much an active involvement type of a program. You can't just stake it and leave it. You've got to tend to it, and you've got to pay attention, and you've got to engage and convert. It requires some work, but very much a lucrative, multifaceted type rewards program that we feel is very innovative to this space.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I haven't fully come across yet, I don't think, anyways, as I'm thinking about it. So building, just to reiterate, people that are building on your blockchain or that hook in like through make a parachain and come onto there, those guys are going to be essentially profit sharing with all the holders that are staking in or that are in the VIP program, right?
Yes, it's not a profit share. It's a very much a top line function rather than a bottom line function of the business. So it's a royalty payment off of gross dollars into the business. A very clean way to operate a mutually beneficial program like that.
All right, very interesting. So that'll be cool to see. Now, in terms of you've mentioned, there's the VRTS and VRNG or VNRG, and is the VNRG token, that's what you're receiving from the staking, and is that only able to be swapped out for VTRS and not anything else? So it won't be, traditionally swappable or tradable with other things.
Yeah, I think now's a good time to see if Taylor is around. Taylor's our creative and designer of the ecosystem and how everything all fits together. He's got some really big plans, really creative plans on various use cases of V-Energy. Taylor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you talk about V-Energy and some of the vision that you've got surrounding V-Energy use cases?
Yeah, sure. So V-Energy is part of the staking reward system, right? But V-Energy itself, as of right now, it can be swapped back to VTRS, right? Kind of that cyclical realization of staking rewards. However, V-Energy can also be used for a lot of other things. It's already baked into the blockchain as the block weight factor. So traditionally, like Ethereum would have GWEI, right? So our V-Energy is kind of considered that a G-volt equals, a portion of a total V-Energy asset. So this V-Energy we would envision as being able to be potentially anything that you would want it to be within the ecosystem itself. So G-Volts or V-Energy is an ecosystem layer within Vitreus itself. That being said, you could use V-Energy as a loyalty program. You could use V-Energy as a compute calculator. You could use V-Energy as a layer on reward system for developers that make a protocol and maybe can use the fees to pay themselves or mimic a tokenomics aspect on their protocol without having to launch a specific token or something like that. We can get into some really cool things of what G-Volts can represent or where G-Volts can go. That's almost a boundless kind of realization when we get into further maturity.
Right. Well, it sounds like it could be used for a lot of stuff. That's interesting to understand and think about. But it says swap VNRG to the VTRS, and you'll earn royalties based on current network demand. So that is going to be, that's how you basically, as you mentioned before, you earn VNRG, put that into more VTRS, stake those, and then you'll earn higher quantities of VTRS. And when we speak about that in particular, how do you estimate the APY? That's based on network demand that would rise or fall?
Yeah, currently we're on a fixed system, a fixed swap system, until we can begin building some demand channels for the platform. We'll pivot to a more dynamic model at some point as soon as we get a good feel of what supply and demand elements look like. But for now, they are fixed. Our APYs are twofold. One, if you're an operator of a V node, the APYs are 12.16%. And then if you're a staker on someone else's node, then the APYs are around 9.7%. So the difference there is just the cut that the operator is taking off of the stakers for utilizing their node for proof of stake.
Okay, understood. Well, it's certainly interesting the way that these work together. It says think of it like a power plant, and there's a lot to kind of wrap your head around there. But yeah, so sort of these there's a few different aspects. Obviously, there's the staking, and then there's the app where you can manage everything. It says there's going to be a collaborative marketplace as well. So what's involved with that?
Yeah, the cool thing here is all of this is live. It's all ready to go. It's all fully active. It's fully functional. The collaborative marketplace is a marketplace of nodes where someone who's interested in moving into Vitreus and pursuing staking can go to that location and see all 150 plus or minus nodes lined up. They can see all of the reputational scores tied to each node. They can see the cut, what we call the commission, that each node is charging to stake to their node. That can vary from 20% all the way up to 80 or 90% in some cases. So anybody looking to make a decision around which node to stake their tokens to can go to that marketplace and see all the important information.
Great. Yep. And that's currently live now. So what is the web address for the marketplace?
I believe it's marketplace.vtrs.io.
All right, let's have a look here. So here is the Vitreus marketplace.
Yeah, so you can see all the listed nodes here. You can see the status, whether they're active or inactive. You can see that commission where all the various operators are establishing their cut to charge you. You can see the reputational level. They're all starting at Vanguard 1 because we just launched mainnet. But as we grow and we spend time developing the network, you'll start to see some variance show up between these operators. You can see the solo stake, which would represent the amount of tokens that that operator has staked to their own node. And then you can see the delegate stake, which is the total of all of the individuals who have chosen to stake to that node. And so it's just really good, important information to be able to distinguish which node, make a good decision on which node to stake your tokens to.
Gotcha. Now this commission rate, is that changeable? Can people choose what they set that at?
They can. The minimum is 20. So an operator has to establish a commission of at least 20. And then if you scroll down, you can actually sort. So if you click on commission, that column, it'll sort that entire column. You can see some have set a 99% commission. That's essentially someone who doesn't want anybody else using their node. But you can see the majority have chosen to go with that minimum commission amount. So assuming 20% is the commission, you'll earn 9.7% yield on your staking rewards.
Gotcha. So why would this is just a random question, but why would anybody not want somebody else to use their node?
I wouldn't be able to tell you any logical reason outside of just someone has a particular problem with others tying into their piece of hardware. Nothing that I can think of from a rational standpoint that would justify that.
Right, yeah, just go ahead, Killer Scope.
Sorry, guys, I just want to ask a quick question. Sorry for interrupting. If I want to run a node, who would be the best person to contact about this?
Yeah, I would. Our entire team is very active in Discord. If you've got Discord or can download Discord, I highly recommend you coming in there. The whole team is in there every day. And
yeah, I do have Discord, yeah.
Yeah, come on into the Vitreus Discord and we'll engage and talk through that, and someone might grab you and take you into the DMs and talk you through it.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Amazing. So yeah, that's anybody else that would like to learn how to run a node or get involved there, you could do that as well. But the nodes that you can purchase, are those are all sold out, right? Or can people still buy them?
Yeah, we froze while we went through the process of launching and spinning up our mainnet and fixing some of the bugs that were to be expected as we launched the mainnet. We stalled out and temporarily suspended the sale of those V nodes. We'll be opening those back up as soon as the community, DAO community and council tell us that we need to. but those will be available for sale at some point in the future again. They were $950 prior to the suspension of the sales. And it's hard to say what those will open back up, but I don't see any reason that needs to be much different.
Yep, got it. And now the money that's spent, purchasing these, and I don't know, obviously you guys have a cost as well to produce them, but I'm assuming there must be some profit that's made on it. How is that going to be utilized? Is that just, taking care of the team or for further developments, or I don't know?
Yeah, there's a traditional software company on the side here that was really in charge of the development and launching of the entire DAO ecosystem, called CDI. And CDI maintains the IP and manufacturing responsibilities surrounding those V nodes. So that would be an order that is pushed through CDI. There's not a whole lot of profit there. The cost of the manufacturing, I think, is right around $800, and they were being sold at $950 to the public. So it's just a mechanism to expand the network and not a mechanism to become rich on, more or less.
Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, there's a few different options for anybody that wants to participate in the ecosystem, which of course there's supporting one of the current nodes that are operating, purchasing your own node, perhaps some point in the future that's already pre-made and good to go. And from, as I understand, you can also set up your own node with your own hardware as well. So a lot of interesting functionalities there. And would there ever be a limit to how many nodes can be operating?
No limit. It's all pretty much a function of throughput requirements and capacity requirements for the entire ecosystem. So I would imagine that the DAO and the council would navigate decision-making events that would cause them to accelerate the expansion of the network and then slow down the expansion of the network just based on what the needs are. Again, it's hard to nail it down what those specific events would look like or when they would be, but that's what I would see, kind of an ebb and flow of decision making surrounding how to grow that network.
Sure. Now you guys have been already, as I understand, you've been working on this for the past, in 2022, I think you mentioned, is when you started it, partway through 2022. So it's been quite a while. You guys have been building at it and working at it. You've established the team that you have. And, what has funded it up to this stage? I suppose you've had 3 different sales up to this stage. Is this how you've been funding the developments and everything up so far?
Yeah, our NFT sales have gone towards the funding of development. There was initially some technologies that were in place through an acquisition, and then we just continued to scale beyond that through our NFT sales. But we took the position that crypto needed to change really quickly in the sequential order that all of this was completed. We see long-term launching tokens into hope and vision and ideas on paper as being problematic. And that's leading to a lot of this kind of scam environments that we're finding a lot of projects in these days. What we found ourselves really wanting to be done and launched and live with something tangible and testable that was ready to go when we were looking to launch the token. So all of this that we're talking about today is fully live. We've been spending 16 months on getting all of this completed. We've just got countless man hours. We have a dev team of 13 highly diversified specialties through a professional dev company called Innowise. They're out of Warsaw, Poland. and they carry every capability that we would possibly need to be able to execute professionally on the development needs of the project. They have about 1,600 devs, and they cover all of the various development specialties and coding languages and whatnot. So we, in essence, were able to build our vision, which was really a fun process. And we were able to refine that vision and then take that to a large professional company to ensure that we had the right capabilities in place on our dev team. And we had a project manager in place that we communicate with on a daily basis. We have weekly build updates that we've engaged regularly and in a committed level to communicating our build progress with the community. You'll ask anybody in the community, we're likely one of the most, and if not the most transparent team in the space. And we knew that if we approached the build that way, we would be able to engage the community, maintain their focus and attention, and then build trust and build the relationship necessary to create long-term holders when it came time to launching this token.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you've certainly been building for quite some time, and I imagine in that stage, helping to spread the word, doing these AMAs. I know I've seen you in, I think I've seen you in AMA and some other places as well. So, yeah, you're definitely trying to get out there and show people what you guys have been working on. Clearly, you've put a lot of work into everything. 13 full-time developers, I think you mentioned. There's a lot going on, here. So when we speak about the funding rounds, how much money has been raised so far?
We've got 1,900 unique wallets. We've got 2,200 total NFTs that were minted. Total funds raised was $3.82 million. We originally had a $1 billion total supply, and we went through a period. I mean, we started this in arguably one of the worst crypto winters there's been, and so we've gone through this period of just really grinding it out, communicating openly with the community, and maintaining focus as we've moved along. We did have to modify our total supply to account for what had been sold up to that point. So what was $1 billion supply or 1 billion token supply has now become 608 million. And our projected starting tokens circulating supply is roughly 205 million. So again, back to that number of about a third of the total is going to enter as circulating.
Gotcha. So again, you should forgot exactly you said, but 3.28 million or something like that has been raised, and it looks like there's some locks on a lot of the supply. As you've mentioned, there's going to be 30, well, essentially 1/3 of the supply circulating. So most of those locks here look like it's. There's vested tokens for the team, for example?
Yeah, we've got 2 tiers on the team. Those are hard locks. The first tier is for community-based team members. That's a 12-month full vest, and it begins vesting at 6 months. So it kind of stair steps its way through incrementally as you hit month 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And until you're fully vested at 12 months. For the core team and the devs, there is a 2-year hard lock, fully vest. And that will begin releasing vesting at 12 months in equal increments each month, starting at 12 months.
Good. And when we speak about those core team that you guys are there, how many people is that supply split between?
That is I think it's probably 25-ish. There's those 13 devs, and then there's 11 or 12 core team members on top of that.
Okay,
We've got a large team.
Right. And I'd assume it's not all evenly split either. Like maybe some people have more allocation than others, right? So, I mean, who's like, so for example, what allocation would you have?
So I have the largest allocation. Our COO has the next largest allocation. Some of the other founding members, such as the product and some other core team members, community based and public relations, they've got some larger allocations. And then you've got some other core team members that have been utilized in various aspects throughout the year that carry much smaller allocations.
Sure, got it, understood. Well, yeah, cool to see. I mean, obviously, you guys are committed. You're locking it for the first year and then vested over time. And clearly, if you've put this much work into everything, it's definitely something you're seeing to fruition. Absolutely. And here you've got the staking pools. Obviously, a big percent of the supply. You guys can see it here on the screen. All that supply split up. So. Really cool. Thank you so much for explaining everything to this stage. Trying to see what else we would talk about. Well, one of the things is, of course, the initiatives as you come up to the launch, the publicly traded launch, let's call it, on Ethereum. And, what's the plans coming up to the stage? Is there still things that need to be completed technically, or is it more of like just spreading awareness and marketing and stuff?
Yeah, we've been pretty careful on what we've spent on marketing up to this point. And again, tying back into build it first, we've spent and utilized most of our resources towards building and development and preparing for a fully live ecosystem when it came time to launch the token. And now that we have a fully live ecosystem, fully ready and almost builder ready, we're looking to really get aggressive on the marketing. We've rolled out multiple phases around the marketing plan. Right now we're in phase 2. We've got about 150,000 allocated, which is pretty heavy in AMAs, banner ads, and earned media, and trying to get organic placements across various media outlets. And so we're just pursuing preparation around getting ready for this launch, with both a couple weeks on the front end and then another 4 to 6 weeks on the back end. And then after that, we'll be shifting pretty aggressively towards recruitment of builders and beginning to build out the ecosystem across various parachains and use cases and so on and so forth.
Right. Well, you've said that, the mainnet is live and everything. So what is stopping people from building on it now? Or, yeah.
Yeah, so we're preparing our final testnet for builders to come in. We're going to be preparing our builder APIs. Those aren't completely ready for rollout. We're trying to get things launched, and we're staying focused on preparing for a successful launch. And then on the back end of that, we're going to launch our testnet environment and our builder APIs to allow for additional expansion there.
All right, interesting. Has there been a lot of interest or demand for the building side of things currently?
We have a couple indications of interest. We've kind of been putting them at bay and pushing them to the side because we're pretty focused on that launch. But we'll circle back around and begin engaging in some of those conversations again. And also, if you're familiar with Polkadot has a parachain slot bidding process, where if you want a parachain on Polkadot, you've got to come in and you got to compete and bid on and hopefully win. There's a lot of projects who have gone through the process of preparing and building and speccing out all of their technology to operate on Polkadot that haven't been awarded parachains. And so we're going to make a pretty hard, aggressive push towards trying to incentivize many of those projects who have just been waiting to prepare to offer them a platform that's ready to go, that's very similar to what they were already pursuing.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, awesome. So June 18th for the launch. So you guys can definitely stay tuned for that and get ready to see how everything pans out over there. What are your expectations for that launch? I mean, it sounds like, many of the tokens are locked up and stuff, but yeah, would you have any thoughts or ideas about what might occur on that launch?
I have some hopes that we've got people who are excited about this project, who are sitting there, who have not been inclined to get into the pre-sales, or who just don't do pre-sales. There's a lot of those types of holders, and they're just sitting there on the sidelines ready to go, waiting for a live trading environment. So I think that we're positioning well for a successful opening. But again, there's nothing to guarantee anything around those expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that, if you've managed to build a community of people that have see the vision of the project and where you guys have headed and all the work you've put in, there should be some, solid holders that are wanting to see it out into a much longer term, right? So that would be the hope, of course. And regardless, new people that come in and they see the project and they're interested in it and they think it's really innovative, then they will be coming in and creating volume there as well, because they weren't able to get in it in the pre-sale stage or whichever. So really interesting to see how everything goes with that. And in terms of centralized exchanges, are you going to be looking at that at all as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a really important part of our strategy, expansion strategy after we launch here on Uniswap. We're going to be pursuing OKX and Binance pretty aggressively. We're positioning, actually just have got approved our move into the Vitreus Foundation. So we're right in the middle of establishing the Vitreus Foundation that's going to be able to manage a lot of the off-chain related aspects of the DAO, and assets and contract engagements. The foundation is going to be really important there. That should be up and running here very soon, and that will position us for some pretty clean relationship opportunities within the exchanges. But again, OKX, Binance, Coinbase, and KuCoin, those are all very much on our radar to begin pursuing quickly and aggressively.
Amazing. Yeah, those are some pretty big names there. So it'd be, I think, pretty bullish to get on board with some of those guys. Definitely will bring a lot of attention to everything. So yeah. Oh, sorry. I think somebody was just about to ask your question. Were you going to ask something, Happy Hot Wife? Or maybe her mic was just unmuted there. I thought she wanted to ask something. Okay, well, yeah, thanks so much for explaining everything. One thing that we haven't really talked about too much yet is the governance. I know that's definitely a core aspect of the project. So maybe we can dive into that a little bit. I'm assuming is it going to be based on token holdings? People who hold a higher percentage of tokens will have more weight in voting and this sort of thing?
It is, and I'd like to defer some of this stuff to our spokesperson on the council for the DAO. Moth, are you around? Can you come up and talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's exciting to see this, transition to a DAO and to an on-chain governance platform through vGovern. This will initially start out as a protocol DAO for us, and it will go through this, proposal mechanism that either the community can carry forward proposals, or they can come through the council. It's really kind of an interesting structure, and one that we're very excited about. I think as a community, we have a lot to learn, in terms of doing this and doing it well. But it gives us the chance to, through some shared security with on-system accounts. So all of the, the VTRS will be locked up in system accounts. So, and, the only, if I was investigating this project, I would want to know that, the only off-chain wallet outside of our ecosystem was multi-sig, for example. So there's, some increased security there, very transparent, regular reporting. You can see exactly what's going on in that wallet as well. But this governance model, it gives us the ability to make changes on our own and to frankly determine our future together. So that's really kind of where this gets exciting, at least in my opinion, is to feel like finally as a holder, as a community member, that we have some ownership together of something that's truly special. So that's really kind of what gets me excited about the future in all of this. I will say that everybody that hears about Vitreus, it's just so different than everything else out there, and that's really by design. The one thing that everybody says, it's refreshing. It's a more mature conversation. It's about engaging with real businesses. It's just not what you typically see. So there's lots to be excited about with on-chain governance, on-chain finance, and then determining things together, where we go from here. So thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for telling us about the DAO structure a little bit and about how that's going to work. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that there's so much involved here and really a lot that's going to be further developed as well. So it's a really exciting project to follow, in my opinion. One other thing that is about the DAO, is that going to be like, are you creating your own sort of proposal page or website where people are going to be able to hook into, or are you using some other currently existing infrastructure for that?
Yeah, everything we've built is fully custom, ground up. vGovern is a web-based application, and that will be the interface that proposals and endorsements and voting, all and enactments, it's all conducted on that that web-based user interface. So vGovern is our application that we built from the ground up to facilitate all those activities.
Understood. And is there any fear of people that have really large holdings? I suppose probably the biggest holdings would hopefully be under control of the team to some extent, but people that have really, really big holdings influencing the direction of the blockchain and the project in ways that might not be the most beneficial actually for the majority, right? Is that a potential issue that could come up?
I suppose it's a risk that is always available in there, but we've believed in our early believers from day one. And we've been there to support our early believers since day one. And part of that belief in allowing them to feel like they have an enhanced control on their DAO and their holding is that 3-time enhancement from holding an NFT. So anybody that came in early, basically anybody there now has an NFT, has a 3-time weighting on their tokens towards their voting. So that should place a lot of care back into some of these early holders who have been here since day one, many of them, and given them ownership and further belief in the ecosystem moving forward.
All right. Well said. Well said. Okay, guys. Well, I've pretty much covered most of the things from my side. I would like to say if there's anybody that has questions here in the voice chat, or if you want to write it in Circle of Trust text chat, if you can't speak on the voice chat, I'll certainly ask any questions that you have. Or again, you yourself can definitely jump on here on the voice chat and ask a question too, if you have any. I know we've covered certainly a lot, so. I did have a few little questions as well. In the meantime, though,
sure.
which were basically we didn't really touch too much on like blockchain statistics, let's say. So, and I found that really interesting, actually, that you guys aren't advertising that when we normally see that on many blockchains that are released. They say things like, we have the fastest transaction speed, and we can do this many transactions per second, and all these different statistics and things. So, how do you guys rank up in compared to that?
It's going to look and feel very similar to Polkadot. Throughput ultimately is all about adequate capacity, and once you get to a certain level, pretty much anything is adequate, and it becomes a marketing ploy and something that you can take a position on from a public communications standpoint. So if you're doing 10,000 TPS versus 25,000 TPS, at the end of the day, does it really matter? Probably not. But it's just a positioning, a marketing positioning that many of the blockchains found early on and kind of ran with it. We're positioning our blockchain for business purpose. And as long as we have adequate throughput to support the needs of those businesses, then it's not something that necessarily is used as a competitive advantage across against other blockchains. Our competitive advantage shows up in other ways. Our dual asset system, our V-Energy use cases, our parachain scalability capabilities, all that stuff is how we differentiate against other blockchains, and not necessarily how fast we are. But from a comparison standpoint, we're going to be very similar to Polkadot.
Sure. And I'd guess as well that the gas fees would be relatively inexpensive, especially, starting out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very cost efficient, especially at the 5-cent launch price. It's 1 G-volt per transaction. And right now, the swap conversion is 0.9 G-volts to 1 VTRS. So we're essentially running at about 5.5 cents per transaction currently. And, I think that is where our competitive advantage starts to show up. And then the various use cases that our creative mind Taylor talked about earlier, and how we can expand the uses of that V-Energy, that's where we're going to differentiate against other blockchains, not necessarily how fast we are.
Yep, definitely. That's what I can see as well. So it's more of the innovative ideas and the other aspects that we've mentioned in this AMA. So
do we have do we have a little bit of time to talk about a use case?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Tim is our CTO for CDI, which is developing a really, really cool software called ComplyQ. And ComplyQ is a compliance, risk and compliance governance platform for AI models. Tim, are you around? Can you come up and talk a little bit about that space and how we're positioning that software?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually actively building on the Vitreus ecosystem. As Chad mentioned, ComplyQ is a very innovative platform that is meant to help companies adopt artificial intelligence ethically and responsibly, while also mitigating the new threat landscape of cybersecurity and handling different events within that system, and even to the point where you can provide advanced logging and incident response. So it's a very robust system. And one of our really cool differentiators is we're from the compliance and logging perspective is we're using Vitreus parachains. And this provides a very significant advantage in a traditional instance, because traditionally in a cybersecurity aspect, you would have to have a myriad of different technologies to accomplish the same features around asymmetric encryption, immutable logging, long-term version control, just all of these really cool elements. And our customer base, they don't have to worry about building out a complex underlying blockchain infrastructure as a utility, because it's automatically included in our software suite. And with some of these legislations that are coming out, EUI Act being one, but even in the United States here, we're seeing a lot of different states come out with their own compliances, regulatory frameworks. You're just going to be hit from, you don't know who you're going to be hit by, but you're going to be hit by somebody. And so it's really cool to be able to go out there, get ahead of this market, position ComplyQ as a strong innovator and lead in this market, but also be able to provide the long-term compliance features as well. So yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. One of the things that you mentioned is how it's like providing a blockchain as a platform as a service. So I'm still trying to work out how that functions and how that works. If somebody wants to come and utilize that, but it does sound very exciting and promising, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of utility in blockchain, and from the ecosystem perspective, the ability to use a parachain in a myriad of different ways. We've really designed this ecosystem for a lot of future utility around decentralization of infrastructure. So DePIN, self-sovereign identity, tokenization and digital assets. Then of course, the cybersecurity implications of what blockchain can be as it pertains to distributed storage and the different elements. So again, as Moth mentioned, the community has been very ingrained in this, but we've also, the team has been very focused on making sure that there is revenue potential as well from different utilities, and we're not just locked into one value proposition. It's a very robust system.
Right. So you would see ideally in the future lots of Web2 companies, let's say, coming on and they want to build out a blockchain for their own business and what they're doing there to track their customers or whatever it is. You would ideally see these guys coming to Vitreus and initiating with you guys and making a parachain there for them to use, right?
Yes, that's the point of V-Energy, is to be able to capture the utilization of traditional companies that want to build on the ecosystem, and then having the robust nature of the Vitreus ecosystem and VTRS, match that out. It was designed for that utility as well as Web3 companies. It's not just one or the other, it's both. But being able to go into a traditional company and have a highly vetted, purpose-built ecosystem that has been pen tested from the ground up twice. You have a myriad of professionals, like Chad said, that are from all walks of life, from high-end devs to consultative to compliance to finance. A lot of expertise has gone into this, and we've made it so that you can adopt blockchain without having to, worry about the complexities. And we're seeing a lot of reevaluation in traditional finance space, in real estate, especially in AI and cybersecurity. The need for an underlying technology that just provides that source of truth is very, very much needed. We're very bullish on the utility of this in both Web3 and Web2.
And Mystic, just to give you an idea, the time for deployment of a parachain is not multiple months or even a month. If a Web2 company comes to us and says, we need an internal blockchain, we can have that spun up in 48 to 72 hours. And we could have fully functioning, independent, sovereign chain with a gas mechanism in place for transactions and shared security model that's interoperable already with any other parachain on the Vitreus ecosystem. So fully functional, ready to go, ready to be live in 2 to 3 days rather than 8 to 12 months of development. So incredibly high value proposition in a deployment of a parachain for a Web2 company.
Absolutely, especially with that speed involved, how quickly it can be put out. So you can have a pretty high volume of companies coming through and being able to set them up with their own blockchain. So really, that's really interesting. Certainly, there's going to be so many Web2 companies out there that don't know how to get involved with blockchain or have no idea where to start. That's not where their specialties lie. They're completely focused on different aspects of business, and they would probably feel very overwhelmed, looking at, oh, how do we build our own blockchain and what do we do? And you guys are providing a solution where they can basically come to you guys. And I don't know if there's going to be any sort of advisory involved from you or recommendations, or tell them how to build, what specifications to have and things like that. And also, I don't know as well how customizable the parachains are, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about those two aspects.
Yeah, they're essentially standalone chains that are connected to the layer 0 for shared security and interoperability. And if they want to, they can develop their own digital asset ecosystem. It is essentially a standalone chain, a layer 1, if you will. And just to give you an idea, you said something very interesting around a Web2 company not really knowing where to begin. And you couldn't be more right there. We're engaged with a multi-billion-dollar company out of Europe who has a $200 million technology budget every single year. They've already made an attempt to build out a blockchain internally, and they've failed. They fired the entire team. They're rebuilding and reevaluating, but it just goes to show you that no matter what the size of the company, the technology and expertise required to develop a blockchain ecosystem is incredibly high, and the barrier to entry is incredibly high. And so we feel like having an established platform as a service available to these huge companies is going to bring a lot of value. And having that ready to go, and having the security all figured out already, and having all of the digital asset use cases figured out already, being able to integrate that into their existing technologies for ledger functionality is going to really hammer home a high level of interest for these billion-dollar companies. And I hear it all the time. These billion-dollar companies are going to build them. They're going to have their own internal blockchains internally. They will. They just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it to the level that they're going to need to facilitate adequate security and ensure that they have everything in place that needs to be in place. So it is very, very relevant to large organizations, and having a model like that can be rolled out very quickly.
Absolutely, especially with the push towards blockchain and acceptance and adoption, essentially, that we're seeing going on. All the ETFs are approved and everything, right? So it's like the traditional business and finance and technology that we see around the world already is definitely becoming more open to crypto and blockchain, as I see it. So that's definitely an interesting, definitely a promising area to look at to follow. I think watching these Web2 companies transition to Web3 and watching the further Web3 companies continue to build out as well. So yeah, pretty exciting times. All right. Well, thank you so much for explaining all of that. I think maybe the last thing I would ask you guys is, where would you see yourselves in 6 months from now? We're coming to the end of the year, or starting, Q1 next year. What would be the ideal position you guys are in?
We've got a readily available pipeline of new builders coming on. We have parachains spinning up pretty regularly. We have a number of tier 1 centralized exchange relationships and listings in place. And we have continuing expansion of our use cases in place. There are still some things that we need to get in place foundationally to make our platform as attractive as possible for Web 2. So I want to see a lot of those kind of further developments and integrations and capabilities platform come into play and development get taken care of before the end of the year. But we really want to see our scalability taking hold. And that's going to show up in the form of a lot of new parachains being expanded upon, our bidding process refined, and candidates coming in and bidding on new parachains, that pipeline being full and active. Those are the types of things that are going to show a strong future and being able to paint a picture for a very healthy ecosystem moving forward. At the end of the day, sustainability is the most important thing when it comes to an ecosystem like this. And keeping things in motion, full circular activity of all these digital assets, that's critical to the ongoing success and sustainability of an ecosystem like this. So those are the things we're going to be looking for at the end of this year. And next year, I think, is really where it starts to get crazy in our scalable activities, scaling activities, and seeing a lot of these parachains really take hold, and the businesses that are using those parachains become successful. That's where I think 18 months out, we're going to really start to see this thing shine.
Yeah, looking forward to witnessing that. And I know I keep coming up with more questions, but we will aim to close this out here shortly. But one other thing that I was wondering is, what are going to be the costs involved with a company that wants to come and set up their own blockchain on a parachain with you guys? How much will that cost them?
Yeah, we've got two cost models really kind of established at this point. We'll have a lease model where a company can come and build out their parachain however they want, fully self-sovereign, full independent digital asset based, however they want to build that. They can pay a lease. And they can pay a regular monthly payment with a committed term to the DAO for utilization of a parachain. That's one model. The other model is a full adoption of all of our existing capabilities. Come in and plug right in and tie into that VIP platform, which will allow them to really create an efficient early stage cost structure for them as they're starting to build up their company, rather than a big committed expense in the form of a lease payment. More mature companies may find that to be less cost advantageous than just paying a lease payment. So having both of those models available that both benefit the DAO in different ways, I think are going to create a really strong economic model moving forward. Now, as far as what the lease payment is, we haven't identified that yet.
Understood. And would say, different blockchains or different parachains that are created, are they they'll vary in cost and expense?
Yeah, they may vary in cost and look a little bit different, just depending on how they're going to set up their validation and consensus model, and how they're going to utilize interoperable functions with other chains. Those capabilities are what we're going to be positioning as our value, and that's what we're going to likely be looking to charge for.
Awesome. Very interesting. Well, I'd just like to say thank you guys so much for coming by. Chad, Moth, Taylor, Tim, all of you guys from the team, thank you guys for coming and joining us today. And thanks to the community, everybody that's come by and listened to the AMA up to this stage and that has been here with us. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope that was an interesting and engaging AMA for you. I hope that you're able to, help with your research purposes. And I'd just like to mention again, so if you guys are interested in this project, Vitreus, and you like what you've heard so far, what they're building, there's a lot of innovation going on over there, as you may have heard in this AMA. Definitely go check out their Telegram group. You'll find that in our pinned messages. You'll be able to join that and stay up to date with any information that's released, any updates around the launch, and so on and so forth. And you'll be able to speak with the team in there too. If for any further questions you might have, or reassurances, or whatever is on your mind, they'll be there to assist you. I believe that there's, yeah, something. There's a page here on the website for support as well. So I think that's that might be as well for once projects start building on there, or people start building on there. Once companies start creating their own blockchains and parachains, so on and so forth. So there's that too. And I just want to again bring back to everybody, these guys are launching their tradable version of the token fully on Uniswap. That's going to be on June 18th. So that's a big event, a big date for these guys. And I think they said 9 a.m. Was it UTC?
Eastern Standard.
9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on June 18th. So you guys can stay tuned for that and watch the fireworks happen. But yeah, that's it from my side, guys. Thank you so much for coming by, everybody. And any last words from the team or closing statements? Now would be a great time, I think.
Mystic, we really appreciate you having us. It's always nice to have a nice engaged host who knows what we're doing and how we're positioning the project. So we really appreciate that. Really a nice group here, and we look forward to engaging further. Our primary social is Discord, and the entire team and partners are in there on a daily basis and fully engaged and fully transparent with the community. So come check us out there. We have a very active X account also, Vitreus DAO. And then again, our secondary social is Telegram, as mentioned before. But again, thank you for having us, and potentially look forward to coming back soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for stopping by. And again, you can see on my screen here as well, there's the X page. So if you want to follow that, there's some updates will be posted there, I'm sure, as well. But yeah, of course, the Discord, that's something I didn't mention. It sounds like you guys are most active there. So anybody that uses Discord, that's the place to be as well. Anyways, yeah, thank you again, everybody. And it's really been a pleasure. Really interesting AMA for me. So I'm glad I got to host this one with you guys. And yeah, thanks for, feel free to check in anytime with us at Circle of Trust. And yeah, thanks again, everybody, for stopping by.
Very good. Thank you, Mystic.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, guys.